Why is it that so many men spend their energy trying to impress a woman's friends, only to find themselves feeling exhausted, inauthentic, and ultimately overlooked? You've been there, haven't you? That moment when you're surrounded by her social circle, reaching for jokes that aren't yours, opinions that don't quite fit, and a persona that feels like a costume rather than your skin. The pressure builds. You analyze every word before it leaves your mouth. You wonder if that story landed right, if that comment was too much or not enough. You're performing, and deep down, you know it. But here's the painful truth. She can feel it too. Think about it. When was the last time you felt truly seen while frantically trying to be someone else? When has pretending ever created the connection you're actually craving? We've been taught that winning over her friends is the path to winning her heart, as if her affection was some prize awarded by committee vote. But this approach creates a fundamental disconnect. You're focused on everyone except the person you're actually trying to connect with. You're playing to the wrong audience. The irony is painful. In trying to seem impressive to her circle, you become less impressive to her. You transform from the authentic person she was drawn to into someone performing a role. And performances, no matter how polished, lack the magnetic pull of authenticity. I see this pattern play out repeatedly in relationships. Men shape-shifting into who they think her friends want them to be, while simultaneously losing the very qualities that made them attractive in the first place. It's exhausting for you and transparently hollow to her. Let's be honest. Her friends aren't looking for a chameleon. They're looking for the person who brings genuine value to her life, someone who sees her, respects her, and creates a relationship where she feels secure enough to be herself. That's what impresses them, not your carefully curated jokes or strategically placed compliments. So what's the alternative? How do you shift from this exhausting performance to something that actually works? The answer is counterintuitive but transformative. Stop trying to impress her friends altogether. Instead, focus on creating a relationship with her that she's proud to display. This isn't about ignoring her friends or being dismissive of their importance. It's about redirecting your energy toward the relationship itself. When you build something real with her, something based on mutual respect, genuine interest, and authentic connection, she naturally wants to show that off. Think about what actually makes someone want to introduce their partner to friends. It's not because they perform well in social settings. It's because the relationship itself has qualities worth sharing: trust, respect, laughter, support. These aren't things you can fake for an evening. They're built over time through consistent actions and authentic presence. When a woman feels truly seen in a relationship, when she feels that you understand aspects of her that others don't, when your connection has depth beyond surface charm, that's when she's eager for her friends to see who you are together. Not to validate her choice, but to share something meaningful that enriches her life. So let's get practical. What does this look like in action? First, redirect your attention. Instead of monitoring how her friends perceive you, focus on creating moments of genuine connection with her. This means being present, truly listening, rather than planning your next impressive comment. It means responding to her, not performing for the room. Notice how she lights up when talking about certain topics. See the subtle shifts in her energy. These observations aren't just romantic gestures, they're the foundation of real understanding. And understanding is far more magnetic than performance. Second, develop the courage to be consistent across contexts. The version of you that exists when you're alone together should be recognizable in the version that appears among her friends. Yes, we all have different social energies in different settings, but the core of who you are should remain stable. This consistency builds trust. It signals that you're not a social chameleon whose personality depends on the audience. It demonstrates integrity, alignment between your private and public selves. And integrity, unlike impression management, creates security in a relationship. Third, recognize that genuine interest in her world is more compelling than trying to be the most interesting person in the room. Ask questions about her friends before meeting them, not to gather intelligence for your performance, but to understand the relationships that matter to her. What does she value about her friendship with Sarah? How long has she known Michael? What experiences have they shared that shaped their bond? This curiosity shows that you care about her entire world, not just the part that includes you. When you finally do meet these people, you have context. You can engage with them as extensions of her story rather than as judges of your worth. This shifts the entire dynamic from evaluation to connection. Fourth, embrace the power of appropriate vulnerability. Nothing breaks down the performance barrier faster than moments of genuine humanity. This doesn't mean oversharing or trauma dumping on new acquaintances. It means allowing your real reactions, thoughts, and feelings to be visible in appropriate ways. Maybe it's admitting you don't know much about a topic rather than pretending expertise. Maybe it's showing genuine enthusiasm for something without worrying if it's cool enough. These moments of authentic expression create space for real connection. Remember, her friends aren't looking for perfection. They're looking for indicators that you're good for her, and nothing signals that more clearly than your willingness to be real. Fifth, recognize that supporting her shine is more impressive than trying to shine yourself. When you're with her friends, create spaces for her to express herself fully. Notice when she has something to add but hesitates. Draw her into conversations about topics where she has passion or expertise. This isn't about making yourself small. It's about understanding that relationships aren't a competition for attention. When you support her visibility, you demonstrate security in yourself and investment in her. Two incredibly attractive qualities. Now, here's where the transformation really happens. When you consistently focus on building a relationship with depth, authenticity, and mutual support, something remarkable occurs. She begins to talk about you when you're not there, not in a performative way, not to prove something to her friends, but because the relationship adds genuine value to her life. She naturally mentions how you remembered a detail from weeks ago, how you supported her through a difficult situation, how you make her laugh when she's stressed. These organic moments of showing you off are worth infinitely more than any impression you could manufacture. They come from a place of genuine appreciation rather than social validation. When her friends finally meet you, they're not meeting a stranger they need to evaluate. They're meeting someone they've heard about, someone who has already contributed positively to the life of a person they care about. The foundation is entirely different. The beautiful paradox is this: when you stop trying to impress her friends and instead focus on creating a relationship worth talking about, you become exponentially more impressive to them. Not because you're performing, but because your effect on her is visible. They see how she relaxes around you. They notice her confidence in sharing her thoughts without fear of judgment. They witness the small moments of connection that signal trust and understanding. These observations are far more powerful than any charming anecdote or carefully crafted first impression. They speak to something sustainable rather than something performed. Is this approach always easy? Number. It requires the courage to be authentic, even when you feel vulnerable. It demands presence when distraction might be more comfortable. It asks you to value depth over immediate validation. But consider the alternative: the exhaustion of constant performance, the insecurity of wondering if you're doing enough, the emptiness of connections built on personas rather than presence. That path leads to relationships where neither person feels truly seen or accepted. The path I'm suggesting leads somewhere different. It creates relationships where both people have the space to be fully themselves, where connection deepens rather than diminishes with time, where external validation becomes less important than internal alignment. So stop trying to impress her friends. Instead, focus on building a relationship that naturally impresses, not because it looks good from the outside, but because it feels good from within. Be the person who sees her, supports her growth, and creates spaces where she can be authentically herself. When you do this consistently, you won't need to worry about making a good impression on her friends. She'll be too busy showing you off, not as a status symbol or social achievement, but as someone who has genuinely enriched her life. And that, ultimately, is the most impressive thing you could ever be.